Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oh, You podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oh, You podcast. Today, we are very blessed to have with us Chani Hermann, who is one of the senior leaders of Yachad here at the OU. We're going to talk to her a little bit about herself and what's going on at Yachad, and we're going to start by you telling us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, thanks for having me. It's great to be here on your show.
Thanks so much for coming on.
So a little bit about me. I grew up in Hillcrest in Queens, went to the Young Israel of Hillcrest my whole childhood, went to Yeshiva Central Queens, YCQ. After that, I went to Hafter High School.
Made the trek out to the 5 towns.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a popular choice at the time from Queens. So it was some really tremendously formative years for me. Queens was an amazing neighborhood to grow up in, specifically at the Young Israel of Hillcrest. I like to tell people that the seeds of Yachad were planted very early for me, and sometimes those seeds happen for people when they least expect it. I have very early memories of there being a Yachad Shabbaton at my shul, and I must have been like 7 or 8 at the time, unfamiliar with the organization. And I asked my father in shul, like, what's going on here this Shabbos? Who are these people that are here for Shabbos? And so he explained to me what Yachad was and why they were here for Shabbos. I also learned later on that my father was fundraising for the Shabbaton. So he clearly...
Had he been involved with Yachad before?
No, I think he just got it. He understood what was happening in the shul. He understood what the organization was trying to do. And again, I was just a young child at the time. I was just an observer. A little bit later on, I spent many summers at Camp Hillel, which Camp Hillel doesn't exist anymore, but it was an amazing camp. And before there was Yachad summer programs, as we know it today, Yachad summer is one of the largest summer opportunities for individuals with disabilities. So this is before that time. And the owners at Camp Hillel had Yachad Shabbaton for a Shabbos, one Shabbos.
Wow.
And I was just an observer again as a child, thinking like, hey, I've heard of Yachad before because they were at my shul, but now they're in my camp for Shabbos. And those were some really tremendous experiences for me.
Were they positive experiences for you?
They were very positive experiences for me. I will say that as a child, you see things differently. So maybe at the beginning, it was a little bit of hesitation. Like, who are these people coming to my camp? I saw differences. Sometimes differences make people feel uncomfortable, especially as a child. You're not sure what's happening. And Yachad was also not so well known at the time. So it wasn't like this excitement, like, oh, Yachad's coming. You know, it was just Yachad's coming, like very, very simply.
But there wasn't a lot of prep.
There was not a lot of prep. I tell people that what really made an impact on me is seeing how the adult staff in camp interacted with our Yachad participants. And I have one very clear memory of Karen Pollack, Alav Shalom, who was like a founding member of Yachad. And she came to camp that Shabbos and gave a Dvar Torah in front of the entire dining room. And when she was done, one of the staff members went over to her and gave her a hug. And it was like such a simple thing, but as a child, seeing that interaction, it made a tremendous impact on me.
So you knew from an early age that giving, chesed, doing good was going to be part of something in your life. But not until college or graduate school did you think, hey, I can actually make a career out of this.
So it's interesting. I definitely knew I wanted to be in the helping fields. I obviously volunteered with Yachad when I was in high school and in college. I spent 2 summers at Camp Simcha, which were also phenomenal summers. And I was, I felt it in me. I had to be something in the giving fields. I thought about becoming a nurse, and then quickly realized that math and science are definitely not my thing. And so I explored social work. So I went to graduate school for social work, and thought I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my social work degree, but I got married during graduate school, and I was like, hey, my husband's in school, so I better get a job when I graduate. And there was an opening at Yachad, and I said, okay, I'll start my career at Yachad and see where it goes from there.
And that was 2 or 3 years ago, right?
A few years ago, of course.
How long have you been at Yachad now?
25 years.
25 amazing years, and we owe you at least 25 years worth of gratitude. Your official title today.
My official title today is Associate Director. And
What does that mean?
So I oversee 5 out of our 10 regions. Yachad is in 10 locations across the US, Canada, and Israel. And I work with 5 out of those 10.
That's not 10 cities, right? That's larger.
Correct. I
catchments.
work with New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, LA, and Florida.
Okay. So how many participants and families does that encompass about?
Across our 10 regions, there's probably about 1,600 Yachad participants who take part in our activities. And then I don't even know the number of students that are involved and community members that are touched. I mean, it's really in the thousands at this point.
And that includes summer camps also, or that summer is separate from that?
Some of the participants in summer programs do overlap with that number, and then there's additional participants who only go to Yachad summer at this time.
Okay. So you have other family members who've been involved across the OU as well, right? You mentioned you married Daniel. He was involved at the OU at one point also, right?
He was. So Daniel is my husband, and we did not know each other until we had 7 shadchanim. 7.
Was that because 7 people tried to set you up and you kept
Well,
saying no? Or
I don't know if he's going to want me to share this story, but I'm going to. So we were set up, and we went on one date, and it was like a one and done. And then a few years later, a number of people tried to set us up again, and I was like, why not? So Daniel's sister-in-law, actually, who's a force to be reckoned with, was not going to take no from Daniel. So she's like, you're going to go out with this girl. So he said it would be easier to just go out with her again than to fight with my sister-in-law. So we went out again.
Okay.
And the second time was the charm. So yes, Daniel was actually involved in New Jersey NCSY. He worked closely with Rabbi Glasser and some other superstars.
Okay, another former OU podcast.
Yes. And we met, and he was heavily involved in the NCSY Shabbaton world, and I was heavily involved in the Yachad Shabbaton world, and we never met. We didn't know each other. He's from Muncie, I'm from Queens, and so it was an OU shidduch,
So
I guess.
now that's one of the reasons we have the 3 C's of the culture and getting everybody together, because maybe you could have met earlier on if you guys were both aware of each other.
We have a little bit of an internal conflict. He says he was involved in Yachad before I was. And the reason he says this is because when he was the head of the Muncie chapter in NCSY, he said he had this great idea to bring Yachad in for an event. So he did. And technically, it was before I started at Yachad. So he says he's been involved in Yachad longer than me.
So did you ever think 25 years ago that you'd be sitting here in an OU podcast? No, that you'd be sitting here leading Yachad at this point in your career? Did you, when you started here, or even in the first couple of years, we have a lot of emerging career professionals here. Did you ever think, wow, that's where I could go, and I want to chart my course in that direction?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think one of the things that's great about the OU today is there's a lot of talk about thinking ahead and thinking about your career. We didn't really talk about it back then. We didn't think about it in that way. As I mentioned before, I thought it was going to be my starting career. I do feel strongly that there's a number of reasons why I have been here for so long. I remember early on thinking that it would be hard to leave. Specifically, it would be hard to leave the families that you form these connections with.
Right.
Because one of the things that you learn when you meet young families who have children with disabilities is it's a revolving door. It's a revolving door of therapists and teachers and all sorts of people that come through their life. And I felt that I was in a position to be a constant, right? Like I couldn't solve all their problems, but forming that connection, being able to listen to them, being able to offer some programs when the timing was right for them, and just being there with them felt something, I felt something very special about that.
Are there participants or families that you are still in touch with and involved with 25 years later?
Yes.
Really?
Some of them from the Queens chapter of Yachad.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Also in touch with a lot of the staff from back then, like the advisors and the coordinators from Yachad. We have like a nice, actually, alumni WhatsApp group from the early days, and we all stay connected, which is really beautiful.
Amazing. Now you happen to be very good at sharing all kinds of stories with me. You just shared one about a Yachad JUF employee who came back after being away for a little bit, and they had these big banners welcoming him, and different stories about music and singing and summers and things like that. Any stories that either you've shared with me that are particularly meaningful, or things that have come up?
There are so many. I'll share one, and Avrami, this one's a shout out to you. So Batsala Kasavsky, who is a longtime resident of Queens, grew up in Hillcrest like I did, and has since moved out of Queens. He had a very special connection with one of our coordinators, who's now a Yachad Commission member, Binyamin Ryder. And when Binyamin Ryder entered the workforce, he hired Batzalel at his company. And Batzalel has been there for many, many years. And they have a really special relationship. And
what does that mean that he hired him? Just explain to people.
Okay,
what does that mean that he hired him?
So Binyamin brought Batzalel on to work at his company. I don't remember the exact details of what Batzalel does at his job, but he is a loyal employee. You ask Binyamin and he'll tell you Batzalel is never late, Batzalel has great work ethic and really loves his job. But what's really special about it is the relationship that he's kept up with Binyamin, the relationship he has with his colleagues, but most importantly, the lessons that Yachad has instilled in anybody who's come across our programs, which is it's about belonging. What does belonging really mean? Does it mean going to a program? Well, maybe for some it's going to an event. But at the essence is really feeling connected to people in your community, to having a meaningful life, and forging those friendships. That's really what Yachad's about.
Amazing. And Yachad does few different things, right? It's not just about finding a place to put somebody for a little while, right? It's about education, it's about employment, and it's about relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's something that doesn't always fit into 9 to 5, right? So here you are, you're in New York, New Jersey, Maryland, West Coast, Florida, not a 9 to 5. You also, we mentioned your amazing husband, Daniel, who's a marathon runner, so we had to get that in there.
Had to get that in. He'll be very happy. Thank you.
Yeah. And you have some children also, right?
I have 4 children, a son-in-law, and a very, very delicious granddaughter.
Any truth to the rumor that your granddaughter is the favorite of them all?
Oh, it's 100% the truth.
Okay,
she is
good.
the cutest.
Now it's on record, so I just needed to make sure of that. You find time for yourself doing other kinds of things, hobbies?
So I think most people, especially women, through their career find that the work-life balance is hard.
Sure.
I don't think I was ever an expert at it. Working on it still, it's a work in progress. I think when you're in the nonprofit space and when you're in a giving profession, it's not 9 to 5.
Right.
It's not. At the same time, you do have to carve out time to be with your family and make sure that your kids are a priority. And hopefully I've done that well at some times, maybe not always. But yeah, hobbies. I love to dance. I've always loved to dance. So all my friends who know me and family know that about me. I love to read. And I love to walk. So Danielle is the runner. I love to walk.
You walk around the office?
I walk around the office. I walk outside of the office.
I know, but if you walk around 10 times, that's a mile.
Okay.
If you walk around the office.
That's really good to know. I just learned something new today.
There you go. And if you tell Danielle, then 262 times around the office.
Okay. I'll let him know.
That's a marathon.
You might see him visiting and just walking
That's
around.
That's it. Keep on going. Keep on going. Okay, so let's get to some rapid fire questions a little bit easier. What's a must-have dish at your Shabbos or Yom Tov meal?
Potato kugel.
Potato kugel? You make your own potato kugel?
I do.
Any secrets you want to share with the host?
No, but I'm happy to make you one and drop one off at your house.
Wow.
Or bring it to the office.
Okay, it might be easier than getting to
the 5 towns.
It's far. I look forward to that. What's your favorite place to travel in Israel?
The Kotel.
Kotel? How come?
I think that most people feel when they get to the kotel that there's just a certain level of kedusha there, and just your davening has incredible meaning, and just the avira.
What is your favorite parsha in the Torah?
Chayei Sarah.
Is that your bat mitzvah parsha or?
It is our Shabbos Sheva Brachos
Wow.
parsha.
Okay, beautiful. So anything aside from that meaningful moment in your life, anything about it that particularly strikes you?
I think the parshiot around that time I've always enjoyed the most, like the stories about the imahot specifically and their acts of chesed and the way that they conducted themselves. It's like something to aspire to.
Awesome. Okay, let's get some OU questions. How many participants does Yachad have in summer camps and programs? I can give you options if you want.
I don't know.
Okay.
Gotta edit this.
350 plus, 550 plus, 435 plus, or 640 plus?
530.
550, that is correct. Okay. What is the first product that OU had a hechsher on? Heinz ketchup, French's yellow mustard, Heinz's vegetarian beans, Hellman's mayonnaise.
Ketchup.
It is Heinz, but it's the vegetarian beans. That's a tough one.
I was thinking about going with that.
That's a tough one. What department did Yachad start under? NCSY, JLIC, Israel Free Spirit, Facilities.
NCSY.
That's correct. What's the biggest lesson you've learned while working at Yachad?
I would say something, it sounds very, very simple, but just be kind. Just be a good person. Be kind to others, include others. It's not always easy to include others. I'm far from perfect at it. And don't just be kind to individuals who have disabilities, but be kind to all of their family members.
Right.
Because it's not easy. There's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows. Be with them through the good, be with them through the challenges, and show up for their smachot.
Yeah, so important. Yeah, being kind to people who wave at you and say hello, okay, so that's one level. But being kind to somebody who's going through a difficult period or who might be yelling at you in the moment. Not that that happens to you.
No, that
much.
never happens.
I don't know why anybody would want to yell at you, but it happens, right? And having that kindness, it's simple, but such an important reminder.
And I think understanding that, and this is another lesson that I've certainly learned at Yachad, is that even when people might be angry or upset, it's hard to be on that receiving end, but try to understand a little bit of where they might be coming from.
So important and so difficult. So trying to understand where somebody comes from is why the next section of this conversation is turning the tables. So you get to ask me whatever question is on your mind.
Okay, I have to ask this. You seem like a pro at this whole hosting the show. Are you thinking like your next career after the OU will be a full-time talk show host?
I'll tell you, it's an interesting question. I'll tell you why. I just wrote a piece that maybe my mother and wife read about podcasting, which is there's different styles in podcasting. One style is there's incredible, interesting people who go out there and are, share things, and they bring guests on and stuff like that. But really, it's their force of personality, what they have to say, that leads the way. That's not me. Right? For me, this really the podcast opportunity is to bring fascinating people like you to share your experiences, so that the world, certainly the world within the OU, can understand who you are and what you do and the impact that Yachad is having and that you're having on belonging across the Jewish world and beyond. So we thank you for being here for that.
Thank you.
So just to end, we ask our guests any bracha that you'd want to share with us.
My bracha would be to all of my colleagues at the OU. There are so many passionate, dedicated people who work at the OU, really working for Am Yisrael in so many different areas. It's not just Yachad, but there's so many amazing people, so dedicated. And my bracha to them is to just keep at it and keep innovating and keep trying to help as many people as possible. despite any challenges that come our way, and there are challenges,
Mm.
there's always challenges, whether it's internal challenges or external challenges, just keep at it and just keep focused on what we could do to get there.
Thank you so much. And all the brachas that you send our way, we send right back at you. For
Thank you.
continued good health and incredible production,
Thanks for having me.
incredible efficiency of everything you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Who should we have next on the podcast? One of your colleagues.
He's going to be so mad that I'm nominating him because we all know how much he likes to be in front of the camera, but definitely Rabbi Adler.
Let's go, Avrami. You're next on the OU podcast.
Definitely.